to preview now a couple of races that are coming up at the weekend, starting at Haydock on Saturday with the Betfred.com Temple Stakes, in which Soul Power is 100-30 favourite. Interesting, Paul Hannigan booked. He won this race last year. Hannigan booked for the first time. Beta Breath is 9-2. Frustrating year, I think, for him last season. Tangerine Trees 6-1. Monsieur Joe is 9s. Backpat Chinta is 12s, along with Mazama. Stable Companion Prohibit is 12-1. Best Term is 14, along with Borley Scott, who run better last time out, and bigger prices remainder. So, Chris, we'll start with Tangerine Trees. Obviously, we can take a look at him winning the Abbey here. I spoke to Brian Smart earlier in Racing UK. He said he's just a big, massive horse. It's taken a long time. I put it down to the headgear. A couple of seasons ago, he's getting beat off marks in the high 60s.
Well, he started his winning sequence off, 69, I think his first handicap win came off. I remember working at Beverley, won a conditions race, and I was absolutely perplexed as to how it had happened, and I was just like, this is an odd result, there's no way he should have won.
And he'd be hard to place after this.
Yeah, exactly. And he just carried on progressing, and obviously here he goes and lands a Group 1 prize. Now, everything goes his way here. You'll see Soul Power in behind, who's just getting going now. He switches towards the outside. There he is in the red and white, flashing home. He's unlucky, he didn't get the best of runs through, and he should have won this, really. The horse in second, the grey on this side, is Secret Asset, and he ran very well.
Singapore
at Cranji over the weekend. So there is some substance to that form. Substance, not substance. But he's got to give weight away on Saturday afternoon as Tangerine Trees.
It's a £4 penalty.
He's got a £4 penalty, And I just think that, one, he was fortunate to beat Soul Power on that occasion. I'm not convinced that the Abbey generally is a race that brings the most solid sprint form lines together, in that it maybe brings several of them together, but you don't always get the right result.
There's a lot of luck and running.
There's luck in running, it's draw dependent, it's a real speed track. Admittedly, Haydock is a speed track as well, but to my mind, Tangerine Trees is just up against it. And in terms of sprinters, where possible, I would prefer them to have had a recent run. I just think that it's almost more important than with the middle distance horses, because I think that they're more likely to use absolutely everything. I think a middle distance horse, a stayer, can get away with being maybe slightly less tuned up.
You might get a breather halfway round.
Exactly, and it's the same as anything. If you're unfit, you try jogging somewhere. Well, exactly, but I can jog somewhere for a little while, get me onto a football pitch and ask me to sprint around, and it's harder work. You can't do it. I think it's a similar thing. I think I prefer for a sprinter to have a run. Now, with several of these, that isn't the case, but I think that's why in some of these early season sprint races, you do get some strange results.
Now, he did have a racecourse gallop last Saturday we saw on Racing UK, but you call it a gallop watching it. We can see it later on in the programme, but it wasn't it was a racecourse day out more than anything.
I mean, the key point isn't that so much as the fact that I just don't think he's quite good enough to give weight away.
I agree with the £4 penalty. I think the £4 penalty is put it this way, if he wins, you'd be like, great for the owners and all, but if he wins, given the £4 penalty to the likes of Beta Breath, you're going to be...
Exactly. I mean, if there are two if there are two Group 1 sprinters in this race, then the two at the top of the market, the Bated Breath and Soul Power, both of whom have got placed form and winning form in Group 1 company, and I think that they're the two class horses.
Soul Power's been to Maidan. We can take a look at him in action as well. Obviously, he was a winner for Nunthorpe a couple of years ago. Here he is, in the white and red, down towards the outside, and he very often, his style of running is, he needs a bit of luck always, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does, but I wouldn't ever hold that against him. He comes wide here. He's finishes second. This is the Al Cos sprint, isn't it? And it's won by an Australian mare called Hortensia. He's beaten by her. He's not beaten far. This is a strong race. This has got plenty of Group 1 winners in it. Yes, they're well bunched up at the line, but you've got plenty of good horses in there. We know that the Australian sprint division has a load of strength in depth to it, and finishing second to an Australian horse who's got group form from over there is, I think, a pretty good effort from Soul Power. Won this race last year. It took me a fair while to be a believer, really, for this horse, because obviously when he took his first group race, he was a massive price, but there were occasions last year where on several occasions, including in this race, he put up big performances. He arrives here on the back of a good spell in Dubai.
apart from the Sprint Cup, he disappointed in that over course and distance. But we know he goes in this track, but he did disappoint that day. He has been largely very consistent sprinter.
Yeah, he has. He's been really consistent. As I say, he was unlucky when he was behind Tangerine Trees at Longchamp. He's gone over to Dubai since then. He's been in very good form. And he just runs his race all the time. And I think that if he runs to that level of form, he's going to be in the first three, isn't he? And there's no real reason to believe that he won't be running to that level of form. And therefore, I find it hard to see him being too far away. What is he at the moment? About a 7-2, 4-1 shot, something like that? Yeah. 100 to 30, wasn't he, on there?
Yeah.
So, worthy favourite.
Yeah, I think so. Robert Cowell, he's doubly represented. He's got Prohibit. He's also got Monsieur Joe in the lineup. I'm going to take a look at him in action.
Well, we saw him in that piece because he was fourth in the race.
Behind Solpar was second.
Yeah.
This is Longchamp.
This is Longchamp, and he's beaten by Beyond Desire, who got out and made all, and Monsieur Joe just comes from a little bit further back. Didn't quite have the raw speed of Beyond Desire, who on a 5 furlong track that is all about speed, just got away, and the rest of them never got there. This wasn't an especially strong contest, I didn't feel. It's a Group 3 race. Yes, the front two have pulled about a length clear of the rest of the field, but I don't think that was the strongest piece of form. If you take a line through Beyond Desire, then you'd have to be giving Massamar a chance as well.
Definitely.
Who progressed from handicaps into group company last year.
Yeah, and Kevin Ryan's got plenty of depth in the sprint division. Tiddlywinks winning last week. Bogart run a big race in his first run. He's got Backpad Chinta in this here. But Massamar, I think conditions will really suit him this weekend.
Yeah, I think they will. This is the King George, isn't it, I think, or the Audi Stakes, is that what it's called? At Glorious Goodwood. Now, to an extent, it is often an advantage, and it was during the course this week on the sprint track.
On the stands rail.
On the stands rail. But he did back up this performance on a couple of other occasions, most notably at Newbury when he was second behind Deacon Blues, who went on and won again on Champions Day at Ascot. So it's not just this run that you're basing it on for Massamar. As you mentioned, Kevin Ryan has got loads of strength in depth in the sprint division. You obviously can't read anything into the jockey bookings between him and Bapak Chinta because Jamie Spencer is going to ride the Marwan Kukash horse. His other runner is an intriguing one, really, because in strict form terms has a bundle to find, but has only been seen three times.
Won in Norfolk.
And was impressive. Yeah. But then the final start, what's wrong there?
We haven't seen him in 230 days.
I mean, most of that is that he was a miss, and then he's just got he's not going to have been seen again after that anyway, I suppose. They're not starting with him particularly late in the season. It's still early stages. It's always or invariably very difficult
hard
for the
3-year-old. Yeah, they very often get lost for a season.
They do,
don't they?
And then on the 4-year-old season, they can maybe pick up a little bit again. The sprint division more and more is becoming one of those where horses who make the mark in this country at group level have gone through handicaps first. And it's the more battle-hardened performers, horses that have gone through the ranks. Bapak Chinta is going at it from a different angle in a sense, in that he was a precocious juvenile.
Yeah.
Can he carry that forward this season? I'm not sure. He's got a bit of improving to do, but he's certainly an interesting contender for the weekend.
Yeah, that's a cracking race.
It is a good race. I mean, there are other horses. We mentioned the 3-year-old campaign can be hard. Elusivity is a horse who did just that. Good form at 2. Again, lots of solid form as a 3-year-old, but looks as though he's taken it to a different level as a 4-year-old. And I thought his run behind Mason last time was a really good one, and he keeps improving all the time, so he's definitely interesting. He's Elusivity.
Swiss Dream, touching him, he's at the run.
Yep.
We can have a look at it in the pink colours. And battled on well here. Probably needs to up it again.
Yeah, this is the weekend before last at Nottingham. It's on easy ground. This is over 6 furlongs. He's dropping back to 5. I'm not convinced that on faster ground, over a shorter trip on a speed track, that Swiss Dream is going to be quite quick enough. She comes from a yard that are just hitting a little bit of form, that of David Ellsworth. A lot of his horses needed the run first time up, but she was obviously straight enough. The horse who finishes on the near side had some solid form lines. It was a tight-knit little contest, that, but she's going to need to take a step forward, I think, is Swiss Dream, in order to make her mark in Group 2 company at this level,
Yeah.
particularly on quicker ground over a shorter trip.
Officially rated 103. It's dangerous to stick rigid to these official handicap ratings, but needs to.
Yeah, she doesn't look a massive amount better than it, and yes, it's dangerous to stick rigidly to them, but you're asking her to find at least £10 of improvement in order to get involved here, and even then she would need a few to run below form. I think with that in mind, she might just be up against it.
I agree. The last one we can touch on is Bated Breath, and I said at the top of this here, it was a frustrating season for him last year.
Well, there were several good runs. It was frustrating in the sense that
he just didn't get his nose in front.
and he ran some massive races. I mean, if not for Dream Ahead, he would be a 2-time Group 1 winner himself.
He's the one that, if you were giving me a free bet now, I'd take a chance with him in this.
I think he's the one that I would lean towards. Now, I've mentioned already that I prefer to see sprinters having had a run. That would be the slight downside. But most of the Yards horses have been pretty straight first time up. You can forget his last run when he was sent over to Hong Kong at Sha Tin and he finished 8th because he was drawn wide. His record at this track, Niall, reads 1-1-2. That second coming in that three-way photo, beating a nose in the Sprint Cup here over 6 furlongs. The one thing that's different to most of his form is that this is 5 furlongs at the weekend, and most of his form is over 6. But I wouldn't read too much into his one run over 5 furlongs in the Nunthorpe because he was drawn in the low numbers on the wrong side that day. And if you actually get the video out and look at that, he travels comfortably enough to suggest that the minimum distance isn't a problem for him. So, excellent track record, yard going well, proven performer at the highest level in Sprint Company. I think that he has got really solid claims at the weekend, and it's a little bit boring, but I think it's between those two, and if there was one at a bigger price, I think that probably Massamart and Elusivity would be the two that I'd be most inclined to take a look at double figure odds.
Interesting, and it'll be live this Saturday at 3 o'clock on Racing UK. Soul Power 100-30 favourite, Bated Breath 9-2. Me and Chris both like Tangerine Trees 6-1, 9-1 on Bigger the Rest. That's what we like. What do you like? Drop us an email, studio@racinguk.com.